Ladies and gentlemen, Binnall of America!
And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Tim Binnall.
No commercials, no subscriptions, no network, no rules, and at the end of the day, my friends, no comparison. Welcome to another edition of BOA The Revival. Really looking forward to this week's program. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's another intriguing guest who was delivered to the program by way of the algorithms. As I click on various people in the New England area who are involved in the paranormal, Facebook just keeps sending more folks my way. And that's how I stumbled upon Jessica Carlozzi. And she is the creator and host of Cryptidbits with Generaltidbits. And that's really just scratching the surface, folks. Well, I wanted to get Jessica on the show because as I dug deeper, I'm just like a lot of the folks who we've had on recently, she's a hustler. She's doing all kinds of stuff. She's got this thing. She's got Cryptidbits with Generaltidbits on YouTube. She's also a co-host of another show that airs on Wednesdays. I believe she is responsible in part for a coloring book. She'll be appearing at the Cobble Mountain Critter Project in Massachusetts later this year. And also she's the creator and organizer of Cryptid Fest, another gathering that is in September in Raynham, Mass. So she's hustling, man. She's doing all kinds of stuff. And the more I was looking at her VC, if you will, or her body of work and what she's working on, I was just like, wow, how do you find the time and the energy to do all this stuff? That's a passion. That's a real passion for the paranormal that I can appreciate. And that's why I wanted to get her on the program. So with all that said, it's a pleasure to meet you. And she's a fellow Massachusetts resident. And so I always, I gotta reach out when I see someone from Mass in the world of the paranormal. So with all that said, Jessica Carlozzi, welcome to Binnall of America. Really looking forward to chatting with you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I hope I live up to that introduction.
You're going to be just fine. So we always start out when we have a first-time guest, the bio, the background, who is Jessica Carlozzi and how did you get mixed up in all this?
I've been kind of interested in and around at least the paranormal side of everything my whole life. My grandmother's house was extremely active. I was always interested in it. And then probably about maybe like 4 years ago, it got to the point where at one point my boyfriend said, you should find other people to talk to about this besides me all the time. So, might want to start a show, get some guests. And it was Cryptidbits was born. Thank you for getting the name of the show all in one fell swoop. Also, a lot of people stumble over that. So I get a lot of flack for that.
It's quite a mouthful, but it's memorable. Cryptidbits with Generaltidbits. So tell me about this. So what are your passions in this? The cryptid realm?
It's kind of both. The cryptid realm, I've not had many personal experiences with, maybe one unknown, but I'm just so interested in talking to people about their sightings, their passions, their lives, what they do with, like, there's authors that I've had on that it's just mind blowing to me. Every single guest I have on.
Yeah.
I enjoy talking to them about everything. My passion lies more, I think, in the paranormal. But it's all an umbrella when it comes to cryptid, paranormal. UFOs I kind of shy away from. It's a very touchy subject for me.
Oh no. Why is that?
I'm not fully a believer.
Yeah.
So I don't talk about that too often just because I don't believe in the whole flying saucer, gray aliens, UFO past. Okay. I mean, there's something, I love conspiracy theories, so I'm interested in that sense. but I think that's the only thing I really haven't covered fully on my show.
Yeah.
In about 40 some odd episodes, it's mostly cryptids and paranormal.
There you go. Do you have a favorite cryptid?
I do. So my favorite cryptid is a Lazarus cryptid. It's the Tasmanian tiger, the thylacine.
Okay.
So it did exist. It was wiped out. 1936 was the last one, but it's still cited here, very randomly here and there. I had a guest on, Neil from Australia, who is in the process of tracking down what is the last thylacine, and I think he's in New Zealand or Australia right now.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite. My favorite non-Lazarus cryptid would have to be one of the sea monster ones, like the Loch Ness. I'm horrified by the ocean, but sea monsters were my first kind of delve into cryptozoology when I was really young. Back in the day, we won't say how long that was ago, but
cool.
Yeah, back in the day, there was a book called Serendipity, and it was about a sea monster. And I think I read that when I was like 3 or 4, about a sea monster that helped keep the oceans clean. And it just started a fascination, like a lifelong fascination with like the ocean and sea monsters and being petrified of the water on top of all of that.
Yeah. So do you think the thylacine is still around?
Oh, without a doubt.
Oh, okay. This is Neil
without a
Waters
doubt.
you were talking to?
Yes. Amazingly interested man, devoted his whole life to this creature that is still there. And the reason they think that it's being covered up is because if one was found, I mean, conservation land would have to be put aside for it. And that's what they don't want to do.
Yeah.
They don't want to have conservation land. They want apartment buildings and supermarkets and parking lots.
Gotcha. They don't want to have to protect the Tasmanian tiger.
Exactly. They're in the process of, like they did with the woolly mammoth, trying to bring a Tasmanian tiger back.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, I can't remember the name of the company. It starts with a Colossus.
Yeah. It's based in Texas.
Yep. And their point, the thylacine group, is that put that money towards search instead of remaking one.
That's their argument. Interesting. Mm-hmm. What's your take on the possibility of reviving these, presumed extinct species?
Unfortunately, I am also happy to have one revived because I wouldn't be able to fathom seeing one in real life.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to Australia and go in the bush with the spiders and the snakes and go hunting for one. But do I want to go to my local zoo and see one? I sure as shit do. Yes. So I'm okay either way.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
I know it's terrible that I want it to be found in its natural habitat, but I also want to be able to purchase one someday. So I guess it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other.
Oh, you would purchase a Tasmanian tiger?
Oh, if they
as
were
a pet? You think you could domesticate it?
Those mouths are amazing. The way I'm just fascinated by the structure of their head. I'm fascinated by just everything about them.
It's like a horror movie, though. That sounds like a horror movie. Like they revive the animal, and then people can buy it as a pet, and then you're eaten by the Tasmanian. Then
Yeah, it's just Australian Jurassic Park. That's
yeah, exactly. Interesting.
That's what it boils down to.
Wow. All right. Well, yeah, I'm kind of torn on. I am in favor of the revival idea because it's it's. I like all revivals, right? So, but it's to me it would work. Yeah, I'm in favor of that because I'm not necessarily sold on the possibility that there still are any out there or necessarily anywhere they're looking. Because I talked to Lauren Coleman in January, and he was saying that in New Guinea they think there might be some there, which is like, oh shit, no one's really doing it. I don't know about Neil Waters, but I don't know. I'm not hearing a lot about people looking for it in New Guinea, so it's like no wonder they can't find it. But anyway. You're in Brockton, Mass. Have you looked at, and I know you have because I've seen your videos, Bridgewater Triangle. What's your take on that?
I think that, so my take is controversial, so I apologize.
Oh, No, this is good. I like controversial. All right.
I just think that the triangle, when it was established,
Yeah.
I don't think that those borders exist anymore. And I don't think that we should be using that term anymore because I think it inhibits what people are trying to do. Technically, I am on the outside of the triangle. I'm not even in the triangle.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't have experiences. I shouldn't see things. I shouldn't look for anything because I have to travel to the triangle to see things. I think the triangle inhibits the area.
All right.
I think it's grown ever since its borders have been placed. Creatures or paranormal activity, it doesn't know that it can't cross into Easton because Easton doesn't have a Thunderbird. So it just has to turn around and go back.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I do believe that this is a hotspot area. I believe that Massachusetts as a whole is a hotspot area. We have the longest past. It's darker than dark here. We've had so much war and anxiety. I don't think we should be, oh, well, that's Stoughton. Stoughton doesn't have a Bigfoot. That's not a triangle. Why can't everything be a triangle? Why can't everything be open to interpretation?
Yeah.
Everything is. I think the triangle's expanded, and I just don't think we should. The Bridgewater Triangle term is kind of old school now.
Well, that's that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, it's not that controversial. I mean, I see what you're saying. It's kind of like, it's definitely, it's kind of gotten long in the tooth, the whole sort of idea of like a Bridgewater Triangle, because there's a lot of more weird stuff in Massachusetts beyond that.
Exactly. I just don't like people holding on to that as well. It's the Bridgewater Triangle, so something's got to be there. Something could be anywhere at any given point. I saw a random, I wouldn't even know what to tell you what it was, in Brockton, and I am in the city, and I saw a creature. Should it not be here because it's not in Bridgewater?
Right. Yeah. Well, who's saying that it shouldn't? I don't know.
I mean, according to the triangle, it doesn't happen here.
Yeah. Well, luckily the triangle doesn't get to decide. But yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's certainly it's very more of a concept than a phenomenon. I think because I've had I have people who come to visit me up here and they like, oh, I want to go to the Bridgewater Triangle, and it's like there's nothing to see there. You can't fucking go. There's really a couple of things that are in the like in the Hockomock Swamp or something like that, but it's like there isn't anything that you can go and see that's like, okay, now I've been to the Bridgewater. It's not like Exeter or something like that.
Yeah, you don't go there. It's not like a haunted house. You step in the doors and then you just get attacked by all sides.
Right.
Exactly. A couple months ago, I went to the swamp and did a walkthrough with Joseph DeAndrade, who was one of the lead Bigfoot sightings in the area back in the late 70s. And it's a great place to walk. It's a great place to look around. It's a great place to hike. It's a memorable place, but you can't just walk into the woods and be like, where's my Bigfoot? I was told he was here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know who, yeah. I hope no one's doing that, but who knows?
Yeah.
Now you had an interesting video here on the Mapinguari. Does that ring a bell? The cryptid protector of the Amazon?
Yep.
Can you tell me about that?
The Mapinguari, it was also in, I think you mentioned the coloring book. We did a page on him too.
Yes.
One of my little bits, which is where I just do a voiceover and not have to get all gussied up for those. I love those. Mapinguari, stomach, mouth, kind of like sloth-like creature. That's what a lot of people think that it evolved from, or is a leftover possible giant sloth from the megafauna in South America that used to exist. Yeah. A megatherium, I think is the name I'm looking for. It smells, it's vicious, it's deadly. It has not been sighted. It has been heard. It has been, I guess, tracks, things on tree trunks, whatnot. But it's kind of like a folklore, a myth, the type of like, well, you shouldn't be logging here. The Mapangari is going to get you.
I understand. Yeah. Interesting. All right.
I think it's kind of like the same. I would take it along the same lines, not physically, but mythologically, as like the Yowie or the Bunyip.
Yeah.
That same type of creature.
Interesting. All right. Well, where do you land on Bigfoot then?
Do I believe in Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
What are your thoughts on Bigfoot?
I think that, yes, at one point there were Bigfoot in the area where we are. I'm not too sure if there's a population to support breeding of creatures to the extent that people see them now.
Yeah.
I think that due to overpopulation, cities being put up, everything happening, like since the main sightings in the 70s and 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, like the big sightings.
Yeah.
I just don't think that we do have any around here at this time. I'd love to be proven wrong. But as of right now, I don't think that the Bridgewater Bigfoots are out in the woods still.
Okay. But what about just in general? Just in general? I'm not a big believer in Massachusetts Bigfoot either. So that's, I'm not.
In general, I would say, yeah. I mean, there's got to be something there. Whether it was something there 20 years ago and we're still looking for that one creature, it's a something. I don't know if it's a humanoid ape, if it's a misidentified completely something else. And it's just funny that we don't have a body. We don't have a piece of it. We don't have anything in over 40 some odd years of sightings. I mean, even more sightings, even longer than 40 some odd years. Because I still think it's 2000 and not 2025 at this point. Yeah.
Do you entertain the paranormal theory then?
That Bigfoot is a mythological paranormal creature, or?
Well, just that it's paranormal. I don't know about mythological. I just mean paranormal, like
no,
not of this world.
I don't think it's interdimensional. Because when you have experiences with paranormal and interdimensional or any type of haunting situation, it's not a Bigfoot.
Right.
I've never had a ghost EVP come across and it's a Bigfoot.
Well, yeah. You wouldn't, I don't know if you would know, right?
Well, I mean, noise-wise. I feel like I would be able to tell noise-wise, maybe, or...
Well, here's the other thing. Have you tried to get an EVP in the woods?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. About 3 or 4 months ago, or whenever it was nice and not freezing.
If you're like going around a haunted house, why would a Bigfoot
be anywhere? He could be wherever he wants if he's paranormal.
Right.
No, I went to all the hot spots in the Massachusetts area for a episode I was going to do.
Yeah.
I've been through the Hockomock Swamp a bunch of times. I don't think Bigfoot is an interdimensional type of cryptid. If it is out there, it's flesh and blood.
All right.
I hope it's out there. I think that I talked about this on one of my shows, like, will there be Bigfoots in the future? And I don't think there will be. I think whatever has been.
So you think Bigfoot's extinct or going extinct?
I think it's going extinct. I don't think there's large populations of it roaming the woods. I mean, they would have to be quite a breeding population for them to be everywhere right now.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, there's some big swaths of woods, though. Like, I just had a guy on from Maine, and he was talking about how, like, half of Maine is just forest. It's like, why couldn't there be Bigfoot there?
There could be, but I don't think that there's 20 to 30 of them in each state across the United States.
Oh no, probably not. No,
Yeah,
don't
I think
so.
there could be 5 or 6 of them kicking around still here and there. I hope there are. I mean, that would be amazing. I don't want to discredit anybody searching for it. I don't want to be a disbeliever. I started a show because I love this stuff, but I don't think that there are large populations that if you just go into the woods long enough, you're going to run into a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, there are people who've spent like their whole lives in the woods and they don't run into Bigfoot. So certainly,
Yeah.
anyone who thinks this is easy, that you can just go to the Bridgewater Triangle, you just go into the woods, that's not how it works.
That's it. You hit a Stop and Shop or a Shaw's and he's in there getting some fruit. Like that's how people see the Bridgewater Triangle as a problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to say about that.
No.
So interesting. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm not a huge proponent of a Massachusetts Bigfoot. If there is a Massachusetts Bigfoot, I think it's passing through. I think it might be a migratory creature that maybe makes its way like Leatherman, like makes its way through on a circuitous route.
I would believe
like the area.
If anything, it's coming through. If they're going to find a Bigfoot, it's going to be in like Alaska, Oregon, California, like the heavy, dense wooded areas. We don't have, or Maine, like you mentioned earlier. I don't think Massachusetts has enough dense wooded areas to support a creature without more sightings.
Yeah.
Or physical evidence.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I'm in agreement with you there. It sounds kind of hard to believe, but I don't spend a lot of time out in Western Mass, so I'm sure there's people out there. There's a Bigfoot group out there that's pretty pretty serious about what they're looking for. But
I feel like I'm going to lose so many subscribers after this. They're going to be like, "Oh, so you don't like Bigfoot, huh?"
No, I think you'll be all right. So you posted a list of stuff you want to talk about in the future on your show, and one of the things that stood out to me is something I've never heard of. So clearly, you have an interest in this polyiasis. It's POLYIUIS.
So it is a video game that was put out. I haven't delved into it enough.
Okay.
It is, give me a spell of that one more time.
POLYIUIS.
There it is.
Yeah, you listed it on your page, so it must be something.
No, I was looking it up. I went through just kind of a lot of stuff yesterday that I wanted to touch upon on my channel that I haven't yet. It's a rumored video game that people would play. Just an arcade game back in the day. People would play, and the next day or a couple days later, it's kind of like The Ring in this scenario. 7 days later, the Men in Black would show up at your door.
Really?
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to do a deep dive into that. It sounded just so interesting and possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never heard of this. That's a weird urban legend for sure.
It definitely is.
Odd.
I mean, my channel is called Cryptidbits, but it kind of like, I want to be able to talk about anything. I don't want people to think, well, I didn't have a cryptid story, so I can't come. I can't be a guest. Like, you want to talk about some weird stuff, you hit me up and I will talk about some weird stuff. Yeah. I'm open to all of it.
Well, I know when we were setting up this interview, you were real excited to be talking to Steve Alton of Megalodon fame, the Meg and all that.
The Meg.
Turned into like a whole franchise. Talk about that. Sounds like this is something you're very interested in. The sharks, the Megalodon, the work of Steve Alton. You're very excited when we talked. So talk about all that.
Obsessed with sharks my whole life. Obsessed. Horrified, but obsessed. I saw Jaws way too young. My aunt used to live in Florida half the year, so I would go to Shark Town or whatever it is in Florida they had. Obsessed. Then Jaws came along. Further obsession. And then Meg came along. I think in 1999 the book came out, the original Meg. Love that book. It's very hard to get a really good shark book, and a shark book that also has any type of not archaeology. I can't remember the word I'm looking for. Like the Pleistocene. Well, no, like the Pleistocene era type of ocean creatures.
Yeah.
And I think actually that's a lot of how Cryptidbits started, when I just kept looking at my boyfriend saying, can you believe how big the shark was? Can you believe? And he's like, all right, you either start a channel called Can You Believe? Which turned into Cryptidbits. But it's the whole shark aspect fascinated me. I've read all of the books he has. He actually has a book called Loch also, which is about the Loch Ness Monster. Yep. The follow-up to that is Vostok. And then the third one should be coming out this year, I think, at some point.
You're like a super fan.
Yeah. This is why I was freaking out so much. I ended up getting sick like a month ago. And I was like, well, I think I'm going to die. So I might as well just reach out to Steve Alton before I die to see if he wants to come on my show. Turned out I wasn't going to die. And he said yes.
There you go.
So,
so what is, for people who are vaguely familiar, catch us up on the Megalodon. I know what it is, but I like to make sure everyone's up to speed. So,
I mean, massive shark of, I want to say the Pleistocene era, but that's probably wrong. So you guys.
An ancient shark.
A very ancient, very early shark, the size of a school bus, which they actually thought great whites descended from, but now it turns out that it's kind of like a cousin of a cousin. Okay.
And all right. Do they think that they're still around, or is it?
So that's also a Lazarus-y type cryptid thing, like the Thylacine, where they could be there. The oceans are big enough to support one, but then they go out and like Discovery puts that really bad show that came out a couple years ago, that Megalodon Killer of the Ocean. Yeah. Do you remember that terrible documentary they put out? Yeah.
So of it, yeah.
So it's kind of become like a little joke because of that Discovery special, but they existed. They massive, like the only, I think at the point of time, the only enemy they had was the Leviathan whale was able to, and they think it died out due to lack of food source, too big, body temperature wise, since the oceans were cooling down. And Meg, the book, is based on if they opened up a portion of the Marianas Trench and found a megalodon.
Yeah.
And what would happen in the ensuing chaos.
All right.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I know. It's pretty well researched. I remember his work on the Loch Ness. What's your take on the Loch Ness Monster? You kind of cited that as one of your more favorite cryptids.
I do love lake cryptids and ocean cryptids. I really liked Stephen Alton's, or Steve, I keep saying Stephen, Steve Alton's take on what the creature was in his book. And I don't want to ruin it for anybody, so I won't say anything. Did you read the book?
Yeah, it came out like 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do. A lot of people have not. I liked how he described what the creature was. Still being a creature, but not a plesiosaur.
Right.
So the loch, I believe, has something. Do I think it's a leftover dinosaur or water reptile? No.
Yeah.
Do I think it's something? Yes. They have unknown DNA that they found in the loch that they can't place. There's still sightings. Just up November was a massive sighting in the loch. Yeah. Is it all logs and seals? No. There's something there. It's just, I mean, they're not going to drain the loch to find it, so we'll never know. I like the uncertainty. I like the mystery of it.
Oh, for sure. That's why we're in this, right? Because these are all unanswered questions.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's a odd little world, this paranormal. So you say you had experiences?
Paranormal?
Yeah.
Yes, too many. I mean, it's.
What's your most memorable? Because I do find I have difficulty sometimes talking to people who have experiences. While I enjoy hearing their stories, it's often like I can't really do anything with that. But let me hear your, you know what I'm saying? Let me hear your most, let me hear your most profound experience.
The strangest one I had was, so we had a house, we lived in East Taunton, and it was my aunt's house. After my aunt had passed, we ended up there, and the house was so bad that during the summertime, my mother would take my 2 younger sisters to my grandmother's to stay for the summer because the house was too active. And me being like 21, I was like, oh, I have this whole house to myself. I will stay here. There's a pool. Party time. But also, like, I didn't really have many parties. I just hung out by myself there. And you used to have those digital cameras that you'd have to like wind up and drop off to get processed.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was one time I had one of those cameras. The
disposable kind.
Yes, the disposable kind. There's a little age gauge for like everybody out there. Disposable cameras. Yeah. I had one of those in the house. I'm the only one in the house for probably like a week at this point. I went to go drop that camera off, and there was a picture of me taken like an inch away from my face sleeping.
Oh God, that's creepy.
It was very creepy.
You can't rule out like a weirdo who broke in, though.
No weirdo. I mean, as far as I know, no weirdo.
That's the even creepier part.
It was creepy going through the pictures and being like, hold on. I've been by myself in this house. It's this maybe like an inch and a half away from my face, and I am dead asleep.
Jesus.
That house was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, my mother, like I said, my mother didn't want to stay there even with my 2 younger sisters. So I had the whole house to myself. At one point I had to call the cops because I had heard so much activity in the house. I thought somebody broke in. Yeah. And the cops came and checked the whole house out. And before he went down into the basement, he kind of unhooked the little gun lock. And he was like, do you have a dog down here? And I was like, we do not have any animals in this house. Like even the cop was put on edge when he came in. Yeah. And it was really strange.
Creepy. This is Taunton? East Taunton?
East Taunton.
East Taunton.
Yes.
The VOA listeners out there, that Taunton, that's Jeremy Vaney country. So Vaney's from Taunton. So I'm not surprised of strangeness in the Taunton realm.
No, it was up in the Bubville section of East Taunton. That whole area, I guess a lot of people in that area were getting sick. They had dug up behind all the houses on the street. It was just a very uncomfortable street. Like it was dark.
What do you mean they were getting sick?
A lot of people ended up getting like sick. Like it was cancer, leukemia.
Yeah, we have that up like in my town, like up the street. There's like one street that everybody had like 8 or 9 people gotten cancer up there. It's like something's bad up in that area.
Something's bad in that area. It was kids. It was adults. It wasn't just like an age. You think, oh yeah, people are going to get sick at this certain age.
Yeah, there's weird clusters like that. That's But I'm more conspiratorial, I suppose, where I'm just like, oh, they probably fucking dumped a bunch of toxic waste fucking like under that block of under that residential neighborhood or something back in the day. Who knows?
And in my mind, I automatically go to like poltergeist, like they moved the graves and left the bodies.
It's entirely possible too.
You know, that's how my grandmother's house was. My grandmother's house was, when they were digging the foundation for that, they just found tons and tons of like artifacts and whatnot. Yeah. And her house was haunted to the max, like bad. There's just always been a house where I'm like, we're just going to feel uncomfortable here because it's just weird and haunted as hell. Yeah.
I'm going to test your Massachusettsness now, and I'll run through some. I know, I'll run. So, because it's tough, because I'm like this too, but I've actually kind of made a point to check these places out. But when you live in an area, sometimes you don't really go to see them. So I guess I'm kind of wondering if some of these places, to see if you've been to any of these Massachusetts paranormal landmarks, if you will, because you did do the Bridgewater Triangle. So have you been down to the Lizzie Borden house?
No. Okay. I don't consider that really a paranormal hotspot, I guess. I haven't been. I've heard the stories. Not my jam.
All right. There's no judgment here, so don't take.
No, because it looked slightly judged for a second.
No, believe me. Okay. I'm not a Lizzie Borden house fan either, but there's a lot of politics involved in that, but that's, but that's okay. So that's, there's no, like I said, there's no judgment here. I'm just interested to get your impression on these places that I've been.
All right.
And we've talked about on the show before with other people. So, okay, what about Salem? Have you done the whole Salem thing?
No.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm not huge into Salem either. So
no, it's touristy. I feel like if I am going to go, I'm not going to go during Halloween. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, you have to be crazy to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So the last one, what about America's Stonehenge? Have you been up to America's Stonehenge at all?
No, I have not.
Wow. Okay. Now I will be judgy on that one.
No, that's fine.
You need to check out America's Stonehenge.
I'm writing it down right now.
And wonderful. Yeah, it's in New Hampshire, actually. It's right on across the border in Salem. So it's where I go to get cheap cigarettes. So
there you go. I might have to take a ride.
Worth a visit.
I've been to Spider Gates in Leicester.
Okay, I don't know about that one.
So Spider Gates is a Quaker cemetery in Leicester, Mass.
Okay.
Or Leicester, I guess, however you want to pronounce that. I think it's Leicester. Where there was a tree in the cemetery that somebody was hung from.
Oh.
And there are 9 metaphorical gates to the cemetery that each time you pass further and further into the cemetery, you're passing through another gate to hell. It's a beautiful place. If you do want to go, Spider Gates.
Spider Gates.
And it's named for the large iron gates in front of the cemetery, which I believe they took down because of it's private-ish property. And by private-ish, I mean just don't park right in front of it because it's not patrolled, and it's a beautiful place. It's very small. It's old Quaker, but you're supposed to get a darker and darker feeling the further you go into the cemetery until you get to the hanging tree.
Did you experience that?
No, nothing creepy happened.
All right. Appreciate your honesty there.
Yeah, nothing creepy. I've been to places where creepy has happened, and I've been to places that I expected creepy to happen, and it didn't.
Well, that's generally how it works. So,
yeah. The more
creepy gets you when you don't expect it.
I went to the Conjuring house and didn't have any experiences.
Oh, you went to the Conjuring house. Interesting.
Yeah. We went to celebrate a birthday party with about a bunch of my family members. All the girls went to the Conjuring house. We didn't do an overnight. We just did I think it was a 4-hour little foray.
Is this in Rhode Island?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm very familiar with it. I think they're shutting down, or they have shut down.
They are shutting down. The lady is on the lam as we speak.
Oh, is she on the lam now?
Oh, she's on the lam.
Wow. Last I heard that they told her she couldn't do any more Conjuring stuff. And then they were like, because the town said that, for folks who don't know what we're talking about. Like, there was a lot of controversy with her and the employees. And then the town revoked her business license. And she was like, well, I'm still going to honor all my remaining reservations. And that's the last I heard. And I'm like, oh, she's kind of playing with fire here. So maybe she got burned.
She also didn't honor her reservations.
Boy.
Yeah, we went there, and I think it's kind of just living off its past.
Yeah, it would seem that way.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about, like, I'll bring it back to the Triangle. It's living off of its past. It's living off of stories that have been passed down, and people like me want to experience these stories for myself. So we go to these places, but we don't realize, like, these stories are 40 years old. Right. It's not going to happen to us the same way it happened to the generation that had these experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish it would.
Right.
Every time I drive down Route 44, do I wish the redheaded hitchhiker is going to pop in my car? Yes. Is he going to? Would I crash the car if it happened? Yes.
Let's take you beyond Massachusetts and Rhode Island. Is there any place you'd like to go? That is, because, I've been very fortunate. I've checked out a lot of places around the country. So, I kind of am blasé about Massachusetts in general nowadays. But is there any place beyond the Bay State that you would be interested in seeing? What's your bucket list locations you want to check out?
St. Augustine's Lighthouse in Florida.
Yeah. Tell me.
I mean, That I remember watching an episode of Taps when Taps was like Taps back in the day. They went to St. Augustine's Lighthouse. A lot of activity, paranormal wise. Would love to see that for myself. Where else would I want to go? Am I this lazy that I have one place?
St. Augustine is pretty popular.
I guess St. Augustine's.
It's a really, it's a place a lot of people go for ghost stuff, I guess. It's very popular for ghost stuff.
I've been to New Orleans. I've done the New Orleans crawl.
Yeah. Well, was that like a pub crawl or a haunted crawl?
A haunted crawl.
Okay.
The vampire crawl. Damn, huh? I'm really bad at this.
This is why you don't win the lottery, Jessica. Because
I know. You got to play to win.
No idea what you would spend the money on. You don't have any dream destinations. So
I know. I'm gonna have to make a list and then go buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah. Somebody, like, well, why should we bestow the money on her? She only wants to go to St. Augustine. She can,
this bitch is lazy. She doesn't want to go anywhere.
Ticket. Yeah.
Somebody just won $1 million up the street from my house.
See, I bet you they had somewhere they wanted to go.
They had dreams.
Yeah, they had dreams.
They had dreams. No, I enjoy like dreaming from my computer room, I guess.
Well, there you go. Don't limit your dreams to the confines of your paycheck. That's what Steve Harvey says, and I follow his advice to the T. Interesting. So you got this show. You got Cryptidbits with Generaltidbits. Mm-hmm. You're also, let's talk about the Cobble Mountain Critter Project. You're going to be presenting there later on this year?
Yeah, that was kind of like a real, like, I had to double check when they asked me. I was like, it's me though. Like, you messaged the right person, right? Because I haven't done a prior speaking engagement. Yeah. Or public speaking engagement. And that is June 6th or 7th, I believe. Cobble Mountain. Don't make me.
I don't fucking know.
You're not going?
They didn't invite me. No, I have no idea. I just
hold on. I'll tell you in a second.
I think it's in June or late May.
Saturday, June 7th. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's all.
And where? Where is this?
Russell, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So it's a couple hours away from where I am. I'll be doing a speaking event, which again is crazy to me.
What are you going to be speaking on?
So I kind of thought about what I was going to talk about because I'm not an expert in any field.
Right.
I'm usually where you are. I host. It's weird to be on the side of the table. And then I realized what got me into this was the community. So I'm going to speak on like the cryptid community.
Yeah.
I'm going to speak on how like the support, the whole everybody pulls together, the belief in people talking to each other and sharing stories being passed down.
Yeah.
But I say that now, and then that day I'm going to freak out and get in my car and go home instead of getting on a stage. But in my head,
you should definitely have the presentation ready before you get in the car. I'm going to go before, so I can give you some advice there.
I'm going to go home in my car, not to there in my car. I did an event where I had to get up and introduce somebody, and that was bad enough. So let's see if I can get up there for 45 minutes and
oh boy,
tell a tale. Yeah.
This is going to be a challenge, Jessica.
It's going to be a challenge. It's very different. I'll have to have a microphone and a camera in my face to be able to pull it off, I think.
Well, maybe they'll live stream it so you can so you'll be comfortable being on the internet.
Let's hope so. I guess it's all done to fund like youth outdoor activities. So
that's awesome.
It's done for a good cause. It's not done to put money back in their pockets. It's done to put money back in the community.
Right.
And there's a ton of speakers. There's a ton of vendors, as far as I know. There's some big ass speakers too.
Yeah. The Cobble Mountain Critter Project, June 7th in Russell, Mass.
Yep. It's put on by the Vogel brothers.
The Vogel brothers. All right. I'm not familiar with their work, but I'll have to check it out.
It looks like it's going to be a great time. I mean, the amount
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah. And you get to watch me freak out when I have to take a stage.
That's you're yeah. Now you're really selling it.
I'm selling it. I mean,
Jessica might lose her mind on stage and be like, "I'm getting the fuck out of here" in the middle of the presentation. Be like, "I'm so glad I went to see that. That was
so glad I was here for that
experience." Yeah,
will not be asked back next year.
Oh man, Vogel Brothers are like, we got to fill some fucking time here, man. Get up there and dance.
She passed out. We got 45 minutes. Just passed out. What are you gonna do?
Hit the vendor tables, folks.
Yeah.
And then you do. So you got Cryptidbits with Generaltidbits. Do you have a favorite episode that you've done over the years, other than Steve Alden?
That hasn't happened yet.
Oh shit.
No, February 23rd is when I see him.
Okay.
My favorite episode. They're all my favorite episodes. They're all my favorite guests. No, Neil Waters is my favorite one. When I spoke to him about the thylacine, hands down. The fact that, and I'll not only the episode, but the fact that I couldn't get the time difference right, and I started it. I was waiting there an hour before he popped up. Is also part of my favorite mythology of that show, that episode.
That happens.
I don't think he's showing up for an hour.
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time. I've had that happen, so don't beat yourself up over that. It happens quite a bit when you do an international show, especially if right around, not this time of year, but like next month when our clocks change, but some of the other ones don't. It's very confusing. That happened last year.
Yeah, I'm done. I won't be able to. It'll be Sunday, and I'll be waiting for Tuesday's episode.
Yeah. And also, you're doing something on Wednesdays with the animals, I think it's called, or something.
I co-host on the Animal Expedition podcast.
Animal Expedition.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. He kind of hit me up, and he was like, "Hey, I'm looking for a co-host," and I was like, "Oh shit, okay." Like,
and he does me about the show.
He does a totally different format than I do. He goes live on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a very comfortable chat with the guests. His guests are everyone and everything. Like we had last week, we had a lady on, Donna. She's been seeing Bigfoots. She's in Ohio, I believe.
Yeah.
Except to her, they're called Watchers.
Oh, creepy.
Yeah, which that threw me a lot.
Is she friendly with the Bigfoot?
She is very friendly with them.
Yeah.
She played us.
But not friendly enough to take a picture.
No. She played us an audio that was really creepy.
What was creepy about
it? The noise that came out of the woods.
Can you do an impression of it?
I definitely cannot.
Okay.
It was a high pitched. I would love to be able to pull that out of my ass, but I can't. It was a high pitched screaming growl. And then she had a cooler thrown at her from the woods. She said she had one of those like little, and this was an older lady. Like,
was it a Yeti? Was it a Yeti cooler?
I wish it was. It was an igloo cooler. If it was a Yeti cooler, I would have definitely brought that up. It's fun to me to see too when you talk to people from different areas, like what their Bigfoots are called. Like when she said Watchers, it just gives you that chill. Like you said, like it's creepy. She had been experiencing something in the woods since she was 6 years old.
Wow.
Off and on in her property. And she kept using the term like, down in the holler. And I was like, oh, she lives in like some places where there's some stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And then from Donna to on Saturday, he had a demonologist on.
Yeah.
So his guests are very varied.
And you co-host this show on Wednesdays and Saturdays?
Saturdays I do not. Wednesdays I do.
Oh, okay.
No, I can't pull both of those, please. And work and play World of Warcraft. Where would I find the time?
Yeah. Interesting. All right.
No, funny enough, I have a friend that does his own podcast. My friend Jay, I've known him for like 40 something years. And I suggested to Animal, I was like, Jay would be a really good Saturday co-host because I can't fill in on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And they clicked like brothers from another mother. So Jay is the co-host on Saturdays now.
All right. That's cool. And what's the name of that? Animal Expedition?
Animal Expedition Files.
Animal Expedition Files.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, Google that, folks, if you want more information on that. And then, so what else we got here on this list of the many projects of Jessica Carlozzi? How I fuck this up? It's been a long day. I taped the show before this one too, so I'm having a little
getting the whole Cryptidbits with Generaltidbits with Jessica Carlozzi is a long
Carlozzi. I was doing the twist thing with the
trying to make me a little more Italian than I am.
Yeah,
I think.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Carlozzi. All right. So other projects. So you got this Cryptid Fest. Now that's in September.
So this year will be the second year. I kind of decided a couple years ago. So there's a festival in Pennsylvania called Squonkapalooza, and I drove down there.
Oh, well, hold on. Now let's stop. Let's talk about that. I know of Squonkapalooza, but tell people about this because I've wanted to go. That's kind of like on my bucket list I have sort of a list of festivals that I want to check out in going forward. And Squonkapalooza is one of them. So I'm interested. What was it like? What was the experience like?
It was fun. I didn't do a vending table. I didn't do anything. I just went as a visitor.
That's half the fun. That's how I do all these events. I don't do a table. That's bullshit.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a ride. I took that drive by myself.
Wow. How long did you drive?
9 hours.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And I drive like a serial killer with no music on.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I just drive like an inch away from the windshield. Just driving in silence for 9 hours down to, I know, it's crazy. It's a really bad habit. I just feel like if I put the radio on, then I'm going to get lost or something's going to happen.
All right.
So it was a 9 hour silent drive to Johnstown, Pennsylvania. They have a festival for the squonk, which is a folklore creature, kind of from the Paul Bunyan era.
Right.
It last 2 years ago. I'm sorry, 2 years ago it was done in the main festival, the main park, Central Park in Johnstown. This year, I believe they're moving it to a different location because of the park is having some work done on it.
Yeah.
I will not be hitting it this year. I will not be doing a silent 9 hour drive.
Yeah. Okay.
Again,
if someone's driving with you, are they allowed to do you put the music on, or do they have to also? I guess they talk to you, so it's not all. Or are they?
Just look out the window and be silent. That's what I need. You just look out the window and they're forbidden to look, talk, especially where I'm driving where I don't know. I'm terrible. I'm terrible like that.
All right.
If I'm driving around my own town, adjacent towns, music's on.
Okay. Yeah. Once you're out into the great unknown.
Yes. Once I'm going into the woods by myself and I try not to make it turn into the movie Wrong Turn, radio's off.
Just imagining your passenger having to keep quiet. Ask you a question. You're like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. I'm driving. We got 7 more hours to go. Just fucking hold all your thoughts till then.
Yeah. Wait until we stop to use the ladies' room and let it all out then. I don't know what to tell you. So
what did they have at Squonkapalooza? Did they have speakers? Did they have a parade, a costume contest? What is Squonkapalooza?
They had all of that plus more. Tons of vendors, tons of speakers. The person that puts it on actually has the most amazing squonk costume I've ever seen. They had a compliment contest since the squonk is always crying because it's so sad and ugly. So they had a compliment contest. They had a little hunt for squonk clues. It was a blast. It was one day.
Yeah.
12 to 6, I believe. And then there was a little after party and it was a good time. I ended up with a lot of contacts, just meeting a lot of people there.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't have met otherwise, that I know their voice, but I didn't know their face. Somebody came up to me to make fun of my accent and I had no clue who it was. And it turned out it was a podcaster that I knew online. And he recognized me from my harsh Massachusetts accent.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well,
it was a good time.
Check out. Yeah. You should go up to the, if you ever get the chance, you should go to the Whitehall Festival. It's awesome.
That's another, I'll put that on my bucket list from before so I can win the lottery, please. I'm just going to say that's a bucket list one so I can buy a scratch ticket and win. And that'll be on the list too.
It's only like a 3-hour drive.
I know, but I have to have dreams to win the lottery, right?
Exactly.
There you go.
And now they're really connecting sort of the haunted stuff around that area too with that weekend. So you can do, last year I did that. I did the conference, the festival, and then I went and did a haunted investigation at Wilson Castle. So you can really pack a lot in up there for the weekend. So
yeah, I'll have to check it out. That's what made me kind of do one in Rainham, because I was like, I am not driving a silent 9-hour drive again by myself.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I'm throwing one a half hour away from me.
So the one in Rainham, that's Cryptid Fest. Did you choose that despite your distaste for the Bridgewater Triangle? Did you choose Rainham because of the Bridgewater Triangle?
I chose Rainham because there was a hall available. It's not so much of a distaste, but when I started putting up posts like, hey, I need vendors. Hey, anybody interested in this? Somebody was like, oh, well, you have to do a Bridgewater. I said, well, this isn't a Bridgewater Triangle Festival. This is a Cryptid Festival.
Right.
This goes out and beyond. Like I had speakers come in from New York, Maine, Virginia. It was just an all-out Cryptid Festival. We have enough Bridgewater Triangle festivals. We have enough paranormal festivals in the area. This was just to celebrate cryptids in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And it was, I had a blast. No, all right. Well, let me take that back. I had an anxiety-filled afternoon, but people had a blast.
Oh, I'm sure. Okay, yeah. What was that? So that was the experience of putting on an event. It was very stressful for you. Yes,
because I didn't delegate. I did everything myself.
Yeah.
So like this coming year is a lesson in delegation where I don't take all the emails. I don't do all the calls. I don't do all the setup. I don't do this. Like my boyfriend helped out immensely. My family helped out immensely that day. But up until then, it was
a one-woman show.
It was a one-woman show. It was a one-woman anxiety ball rolling around Rainham that day. But everybody had a blast, so that's cool.
I salute you because it's tough. I've considered putting on an event around here, but a lot of it's like, well, it's just a lot of work and a lot of stress, and I could spend that money on a nice vacation, go somewhere and see something I want to see instead of, spending it.
Exactly.
I just had it in something here.
And it's the hall that I rented. It's a smaller hall. Like I don't want people to think it was this massive rolling fields of event. It was a smaller hall. It
wasn't the Wang Center.
It wasn't even a center. It wasn't, I couldn't sell tickets. So it was all free for everybody to come in.
You couldn't sell tickets because of the arrangement with the hall?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's free to come in. It's free to hang out, which I kind of liked that you don't have to buy to get in because then you can spend that money at the vendor.
Right. Exactly. That is yeah.
I like people supporting the land, like buy a drink and support the vendor rather than pay the money to get into what could or could not have been a good festival. I didn't know because I hadn't thrown one before.
Yeah.
You know?
But now you're ready to come back with round 2. So who do you have lined up for Cryptid Fest that people can see at the event?
I have not even booked the hall yet.
Uh-oh.
I know. I'm a month behind this year. I think so last year we had 4 speakers. We had Derek Gunn, who was from the area. He was fantastic.
Yep. I know Derek, yeah.
I had Michael Thompson. He's an author from Virginia. I had Brad Rigo, a director from New York. And I had Kevin Sapiel, who was from Maine, who did a talk on like Fortean times and Maine cryptids. This year, I think I might do it a little differently, pull it back and have panels.
Oh, interesting. Nice.
I think because a lot of people came up to me and they're like, oh, I want to talk next year. I want to talk next year. I want to talk next year. It's a 5 to 6 hour event. I can't have that many speakers. So to be able to give everybody in the area their time to talk, I thought it would be interesting to have panels, a panel of 5 people. You're a Bigfoot expert, a panel of 5 people. You want to just talk about paranormal, a panel of 5 people. You want to talk about water legends.
Yeah.
And then
no UFOs though, because you're not having it.
We will never have a UFO panel at my Cryptid Fest.
Wow. Nice. I like that declaration.
People have their beliefs. I believe in some wacky shit. I just haven't had an experience yet. I think that's what would take it for me to be pushed over the edge for this.
Well, Massachusetts is not a very UFO friendly.
I mean,
compared to like, it goes like ghosts and paranormal, then cryptids, then UFOs. That's like how I would rank the Massachusetts sort of like vibe.
The dog track in Rainham is supposed to be a massive hotspot for UFOs.
Yeah, well,
I went there, checked it out. We were there for a night. We hung out. I didn't see anything off-putting. I didn't see anything different from what I would usually see. I think maybe I don't see anything because I'm not believing in looking for it.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I've seen some weird shit. I've seen like, we have woods up the street from my house where I used to take my dog, and I finally just told the story like 6 months ago because it was so embarrassing. I saw a huge red, massive ball rolling out of the woods, like an 8-foot tall ball that disappeared immediately. So I've seen that, and I believe I saw that, but UFOs kind of just have to happen for me to have that panel at the festival.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, in fairness, I think the Rainham dog track is a hotspot for a lot of strange activity.
Yeah.
UFOs and beyond. I don't even know if that's still open, but I was in there once and it was like, this is seedy.
It's open to an extent. There's like upstairs, because when I went to check out the area, it was still open. So I took a walk around inside. It's open, but it's depressingly open.
I think it's open. But they don't have races. You can watch them on like a TV.
Pretty much.
This is really. These folks are really hanging on to their dog track here. Yeah,
yep.
It's pretty.
It was just a bunch of guys
wild.
Sitting around watching TVs.
Yeah, watching dog races from Tampa Bay or whatever. It's crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah. I think the history of that is also. I think that there's supposedly like a big cat that was seen there, but I don't recall the history too much of the Bridgewater Triangle. I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I got into it like 20 years ago, so that's when it kind of burst up and bubbled up. And I don't know if you were around back then, but there was a lot of like turf wars and shit, and people like kind of they were the Bridgewater Triangle expert, and then other people were like, "No, I'm the Bridgewater Triangle expert." And it's like, this is I'm the only I can do presentations on it and shit.
I didn't like that. I don't like the whole gatekeeping when it comes to anything in this whole community. We all can have our experiences. No, about 20-ish years ago, that was my first interview. I interviewed Joseph DeAndre about 20 years ago. I still have that footage for his sighting. And it was weird to put that footage in the episode I did with him about 6 months ago.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it was the footage I had from 20 years ago, him telling a story, and then the footage of kind of us in the swamp with him still looking 50 years later. It's just
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people, they see something and it starts a quest in them.
Yeah,
I believe
that happens to a lot of people.
I believe he saw something. I believe he saw something in the woods. I don't know if he's going to be able to see that again, unfortunately.
Yes. Well, there's a guy who's been hanging out at Loch Ness for like 30 years. He saw something, and then he's been there ever since. So it takes hold of you. Yeah. If you see something like that. So we don't want you to see a UFO, because then I'd be obsessed. Yeah.
Next time you talk to me, I'd have like UFO tattoos all over myself. I'd be outside with like flashlights. Yeah,
all that shit. What about the coloring book? Where'd this come from?
We're actually, the second one is out now, part 2. My friend Artie, he's an amazing artist. He hit me up and he said, I'd love to do a cryptids coloring book. Like, he watches my show, I think, and got just like, there's a market for a cryptids coloring book, an adult, and not adult in the sense that it's R-rated, adult in the sense that it's got facts in it. It's adulter pictures. It's not like cutesy. And he asked me if he did the illustrations, would I do all the work,
copy.
All the copy for it. Yeah. So we went through a list, the documentation. We went through a list. He gave me like 30 or so cryptids. we went back and forth. We picked and deleted and denied and ended up with a coloring book out of it. And I love it. Yeah. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah.
And where can people get it?
They can get it at his Etsy page.
Okay.
They can hit me up on my Facebook page and I can send them one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can always grab one from him. Part 2 just came out. The first one was a kind of like a greener jungle theme with Bigfoot on the front. This one's more of a colder winter theme with a Yeti on the front of it.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. I love it. I mean,
nice.
It's my first author publishing. I was mind blown that it happened.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the pictures. It's pretty, it's cool. It's creative. So
he does an amazing job. He's a great illustrator. He does cryptids. Actually, behind me, I have the original Chupacabra painting that he based his coloring book pages off of, which is, I will treasure that until I die. That picture is amazing. Yeah, they can get it on Artie's Etsy page. They can hit me up however they find me and ask me, and I can grab them a copy and send it to them.
Mm-hmm. So where does this come from? All this this wellspring of energy to do so much different stuff. You got your show, Cryptidbits, with Generaltidbits. You've got
mostly all of this. It's mostly
caffeine?
Mostly all the coffee and the green tea and it's the will. I started late. I started a YouTube late. Like I should have done this in my 20s when I had the energy, but
yeah.
I don't know. I'm very excited by it. I get excited every single time I book a show or I book a guest.
Yeah.
It's just enjoyable to me. I mean, I finally have I think I finally have an outlet for this type of community so that the people around me that aren't interested in it don't have to hear it about 24/7. No, there are times when I'm exhausted, but you got to put on the face and do your show.
Yeah.
Somehow. Yeah.
I feel you there. You there, especially on a Monday night. So we got what's coming up in the future here for Cryptidbits with Generaltidbits. You're pretty serious. You were showing me your schedule and stuff. You got Steve Alton you're taping at the end of the month. But what do you have here? What do you got going on for 2025? We're still in the new year, freshly.
I know. It is. Well, it's fresh enough. I mean, I would like to say I have a lot going on, but I have the festival, which I'm going to plan soon. I have a lot of amazing guests coming up. Steve Alton is one of them. If that actually, happens, we'll see. We'll see on February 23rd how that goes.
I'm sure he'll be there.
Oh, yeah, I'll die the second he shows up. No, I'm just booking guests and having a good time and continuing on doing what I'm doing. I hope people are enjoying it. I know I am. My channel is for fun for me. Like I don't expect to have monetization. I don't expect to have anything other than a good time.
There you go. That's all you can ask for, really.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I think it was Motley Crue that, you don't need nothing but a good time.
There you go. And Jessica, like I said, recently posted on her page, she's looking to get into time travel, Montauk Project, Philadelphia Experiment, Chronicles of the Future, but I don't know this one, by Paul Amadeus Dynac.
It's a man that fell into a coma. I just downloaded it on my Kindle because it was easier than going to the library.
Yeah.
A man who fell into a coma back in the 1920s, 1820s, one of the 20s, and woke up a year later and wrote a diary about where he was while he was in the coma. And he was in the year 3096.
Oh, wow. I got to check that out.
And I haven't been able to verify if this is fiction or nonfiction yet. It's written as nonfiction.
When did the book come out?
A while ago.
Okay.
A bit ago. I just happened to stumble across it. And it's his vision it's not his vision. It's where he was when he was in a coma. So did he dimensionally time travel when he was in a coma? Did he have a prophecy?
Right.
a dream that was misunderstood. But a lot of the things that it's kind of like, I don't know. It's strange because in the 20s, could we have kept somebody alive for a year in a coma? Was that medically possible? Like,
I didn't even think of that, but yeah, that is kind of like, how the fuck?
Yeah. I'm interested in it, but I'm taking it with a huge grain of salt until I read the book.
All right. Yeah. We should, we'll see. Interesting. I'm going to look it up myself. And other stuff you're hoping to cover later this year, Voynich manuscript, the Oakville blobs. But can you tell me about that one, the Oakville blobs? You just heard about it. And
I heard about it. Also doing some research yesterday. I wanted to throw it up on my page and get some interest going. Huge
blob fan.
Blob fan. I wanted to. It's like, I got to figure out the right words I'm going to use. It just large chunks of blobs just fell from the sky, and it was never explained. It's kind of like back in the days when, like, you've read the Fortean or Lo and Behold.
Yes.
When the frogs fell from the sky and the fish, and they had no explanation. It's kind of along the same lines as that.
It's like the Kentucky meat shower.
Yes, except with blobs, I guess. Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, Oakville blobs. That's another one I'm going to look into. The Joplin lights, I think folks probably know about that.
Yeah.
So you're hoping to get into that stuff. If people are like students of the Oakville blobs, if you're someone who's done a lot of research on that, reach out to Jessica, because she wants to talk to you.
I do. I want to talk about some blobs. Yeah. I don't like I love the whole, like, just so it sounds to me like you have, like, almost your interests are moving more into, like, or maybe not necessarily moving, but at least as far as, like, what kind of is piquing your interest right now is really kind of these like apocryphal stories, if you will. Like I said, Philadelphia Experiment, Montauk Project, this story here, Voynich manuscript. These are all kind of like old mysteries that aren't, Philadelphia Experiment, Montauk, that's kind of paranormal, but it's almost like conspiracy and sort of odd Fortean weirdness. Yes, exactly.
That's kind of what's captured your imagination right now.
I love conspiracy theory. I love anything Fortean. And like I said, I love talking to every guest I talk to, but it doesn't just have to be a Bigfoot story. I want to talk to everybody about everything. That's why I started my channel.
Do you have a favorite conspiracy theory?
I think the Mandela effect is my favorite conspiracy theory. I believe that that's government based. And
really,
I do. Yeah, I have a big tinfoil hat for that.
What do you? All right, let's dial it back here. So what do you mean government based?
I think that a lot of stuff that we know from the past that doesn't exist anymore was either set up by the government to make us think that we can't trust our memory, so that when an event does happen and that event disappears, they can be like, oh, well, yeah, you thought there was a cornucopia too. Like, they make us confused to make us more compliant.
It's like social gaslighting.
Mm-hmm. But on a large scale, like involved, like news is involved. Everything's, I'm not like, there's been some large scale events that have happened that obviously are touchy to talk about now. Well, I mean, I don't want to bring
up,
what do you mean? Like
9/11?
Yes.
Well, it happened.
I know it did. I know. I try not to bring that into the whole Mandela effect thing. But I remember waking up that morning and seeing that happen. I was obsessed. I collected all the newspapers. Like, it was just such a time in our lives that was like our JFK, I think.
Yeah. Sure.
And then you go back, like, say I go to Google or Yahoo or whatever, and I look up 9/11 conspiracies. You know what it brings me now?
What?
It brings me to pages that tell me that
that there is no conspiracy.
That there is no conspiracy. That it doesn't. It never existed, and anybody that believes that is a moron. When in fact, I have the Loose Change DVD from 2003 that has everything. I have the Zeitgeist DVD. I have the papers that show that. So yeah. I think the Mandela effect is just a way of controlling what we see and what we watch so that we don't trust our own memory. So that things like that can happen.
All right. That's a fascinating take on it. I don't think I've really heard that before. All right.
And if you never hear from me again, then I was right.
All right. I didn't think of it that way. Yeah. Well, then they'd have to take me out too. So, yeah. Thanks a lot.
Sorry.
Well, that's really interesting. I haven't really, I feel like I won't discount your theory, but I'm more of the kind of like glitch in the matrix kind of thing where it's like there's something, that like the record skips or something and it readjusts.
Okay.
It's
who's controlling the record though?
God. God's
okay.
controlling the record.
All right.
I'm hoping he'll skip us out of the fucking off the track we're on now. So, be great one day if we woke up and it was like, oh, holy shit, it's 2015. Like, wait a minute.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, it'd be fucking awesome. But alas, I'm afraid time does not work that way.
No, it's actually slowing down somehow. It's
seems
crawling.
That way sometimes. Yeah. Seems that way. Yeah. Especially, this past month was weird. It was like the first half of January, I was like, holy shit, this month's flying by. Then once we got to like the 18th or so, it was like, oh man, how it's crawling. I don't know what the fuck happened, but it seems like that's the case always with January. I don't know. Anyway, well, it's a Monday night. It's been a long night. We both, we deserve a break. So we'll wrap it up here. Jessica, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. It's Cryptidbits with Generaltidbits. I'm really quite good at saying that.
That is very good.
Yeah, and Google that, folks. Cryptidbits with Generaltidbits. That's sort of Jessica's hub. And as we established earlier, she's going to be at the Cobble Mountain Critter Project in Russell, Mass in June, all off of the memory. And then she's going to be spearheading Cryptid Fest in Raynham in Massachusetts in September, presumably. So, yeah. Well, and stay tuned for updates on that from Jessica. Well, I can't thank you enough. Hats off to you. Like I said, you're a hustler. You're really putting the work in and doing all this stuff and really have a passion for this material. And I respect that and appreciate it. And we need more folks out there who are sort of putting in the work. So, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I don't know. I guess hearing all the stuff I did made me realize I do a lot of stuff.
You do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Good night. And thanks again.
Thanks.